How do more than 100 million Fortnite players join the battle without lag? AWS is how Epic Games scales up to keep them in the action. AWS powers next-level innovation for millions of businesses.
Avoiding your unfinished home projects because you're not sure where to start? Thumbtack knows home so you don't have to. Don't know the difference between matte paint finish and satin? Or what that clunking sound from your dryer is? With Thumbtack, you don't have to be a home pro. You just have to hire one. You can hire top-rated pros, see price estimates, and read reviews all on the app. Download today.
Welcome to episode 89 of Winging It. Whatever will be, will be. Something a little bit different for you this week. Me, Albert and Hesketh are joined by Felix White of the Maccabees, 86 TVs, the Tailenders podcast and the Fulham Fix podcast. Felix has written a book in which he attended a game in every single round of the FA Cup for the 24-25 season, which of course culminated in Crystal Palace lifting the trophy for the first time in our history, even beating Felix's beloved Fulham along the way. We're going to talk through the book and all else things surrounding Palace and Fulham and how we all feel about supporting our clubs and going to games and all that falls in between. Felix's book, Whatever Will Be, is available in all your outlets. Check out all our socials. We will have it on there linked up. I thoroughly recommend it as a great piece of memorabilia to go along our cup final journey of last season, as obviously at the end of the book it culminates in Felix as a fly on the wall in the Crystal Palace end at Wembley for that win, sharing how he saw it as an outsider on the inside, as it were. And it's just the journey that you go through in the book to get to that stage is brilliant, and it's more than just a football book. It's so much about supporting your team and why you support your team and how football interlinks with your life and all sorts of good stuff. So I highly recommend going out and buying the book and giving it a read. And yeah, here's our chat with Felix. Hope you enjoy it. Yeah, I just we got to the stage there where we thought he was just chatting shit about knowing you.
That's so funny. No, we sat next to each other at our mutual friend's wedding. Has he told you that story? Yeah.
Oh no, it hasn't.
Chapter 7 Billy, as I now call him.
Yeah, Chapter 7 Billy. Yeah.
Have you seen him recently?
No, he's texted me about it though.
Yeah.
About the book, yeah. I saw him with little Stanley actually when Stanley was just born. But yeah, we're in touch quite a lot at the moment, which is quite nice.
Nice. I was meant to see him on Saturday, but he's cancelled. Chapter 7 Billy.
Chapter 7 Billy. That's hilarious.
Love
That's
nice.
so good.
Yeah, so I'm going to just keep this fairly relaxed and conversational. It's not going to be like questions and things like that. I'll just be like have a general chat about it.
Yeah, sounds great.
We, I think full disclosure, Hesketh hasn't read it. Me and Albert have both read it and thoroughly enjoyed it. So
that's another thing to point out. They're going to call me Albert.
I was wondering that.
But you can still call me Curly. It's fine. Don't worry.
I noticed that. Why are you called Albert?
It's the most uninteresting story. So Albert is a nickname that my granddad gave me because he didn't like the name Matthew.
No way.
I don't think I knew that. And I've known you enough time that I should know that.
It's not on my birth certificate. It's not my middle name. It's literally Grandad Les didn't like Matthew, call me Albert.
Also, what's quite good is that Terry's name on here is Matt Curley.
Yeah, just
to make things
I pay for the account. That's
so funny.
No, so Matt uses Albert to keep his professional persona and his podcast persona separate. That's the real reason behind it.
Smart.
Something like that, yeah.
Because otherwise everyone will find out that he's into Scientology with Tom Cruise. Right, okay, cool. Let's tuck in. So, Felix, we're going to start with a question, and this comes from Voldo, who's a listener, to both this podcast and Tailenders.
Oh, yeah.
You might know who he is because he was the first person spotted on TV wearing your Tailenders of the World t-shirt at a cricket match. And I think you guys ended up having a little conversation with him.
No way. And he's a Palace fan.
And he's a Palace fan, that's right. And he said he wanted to ask who's the most Fulham player never to have played for Fulham.
Oh, wow. What a deep cut first up.
It is.
You said it was going to be light and conversational. When you
well, we were having a think before recording, and I landed on. Well, first up, I went Jody Morris, but then I thought we looked at his clubs and was like, Leeds, Chelsea, and Millwall. That's not screaming Fulham to me.
No, not at all.
I landed on Herman Hreidarsson.
Herman Hreidarsson.
I'm surprised he didn't play for Fulham.
Yeah, Herman Hreidarsson feels like a Fulham player, doesn't it? He really does.
See, I had one straight away.
Gone.
And then had to check because he's had so many loan clubs. I didn't know whether he actually played for you or not. Patrick Bamford.
Yes, well, I guess you're saying he's middle class, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. Yeah,
he's a bit posh. Yeah, he
hasn't been on loan, so I can say him as my answer.
He would have been a great Fulham player, though, Patrick Bamford. He'd have been doing all of the half-time stuff, wouldn't he? Been an ambassador for the club afterwards.
Wouldn't have been scoring any goals, though.
No, well, Fulham player, yeah. In my head, I just don't know why, but I was thinking, who was the Palace captain 1990? Trevor?
Jeff Thomas.
Jeff Thomas! Because my mate, when I was at uni, he was a massive Palace fan, and he used to have a photo of Jeff Thomas in England kit, but it's like it was pulled out of Match magazine or something, and like he's doing the thing where he's like he's screaming like, "Get past the ball, I'm here!" Like no one was passing him the ball type thing, like he's pleading for the ball. And I always thought, because when I was writing this book, I had a little does that little doing like research. He does the news in 1990. And he does a really sort of stunned interview on national news where he looks like they've lost the cup final replay already. And he's almost like disassociating, but it seems like such a big deal for him. So
maybe it's because he just heard the recording of Glad All Over that they did.
Oh, really? Did he sing that? Did they do?
That was our cup final. Saying it's atrocious. I mean, you know.
Was it fun? Did he do a song did the players do a song this year? No, last year. No song.
No, we had an unofficial. So Doc Brown, Ben Bailey Smith, he obviously a big Palace fan, and he did a song. He did one for the last cup final as well with Verb T, which were both very, very popular amongst the fans. But
weird, the players didn't do one, isn't it? That would have been a big deal.
Well, it's another nail in the coffin of the FA Cup, isn't it?
Yeah, totally.
I think had we had Yannick Bolasie still, I think he'd have been pushing hard to do one.
Pushing hard, speaking to his people.
Yeah, exactly.
Rap battling with Bradley Wright Phillips or whoever it was.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of a better Fulham player than Jeff Thomas that didn't play Fulham. Hreidarsson's a really good one.
I actually had to. I had to convince myself that he had played for Fulham.
Yeah, I do know what you mean. I'd sort of almost have to double check that myself.
Yeah,
but no, good shouts all round. Bamford, Hreidarsson, Thomas.
Love it. So, for listeners who might not know who Felix is, of the Maccabees fame, Tailenders podcast, you have another 86 TVs.
Correct.
Is that right? Yes.
Correct.
I did some research. I know this podcast is called Winging It, but I do some research sometimes. and long-time friend of Albert's, and we find it like for years he's been saying we'll get Felix on. I looked back, we got messages going back 2 years of you saying we'll get Felix for the Fulham game, and finally done it. So you do the Fulham podcast as well.
Yeah, so I do the Fulham Fix, and that's how we got talking, because we were at a mutual friend's wedding years ago now, probably, Curly, 3 years ago or something?
3 years ago. I was really hungover.
It was yesterday. And it was just one of now I think about it, I feel like he might have sat us next to each other because we both do podcasts about our clubs.
He did make some noise about I've sat again. I was really hungry. I've sat you two together and just did a general sort of,
Oh right, yeah. He didn't tell me
struggling
that.
Middle, mid-table club. Yeah, that was Billy. Do
you know what? It's so weird how it all happens though, because I was just looking back when we were talking the other day about coming on this, and we've been going back and forth about doing it for ages, and it's amazing. Actually, it was actually quite an interesting thing of like how the club's fortunes have changed, because we'd have this chat like every year about coming on. And one year it'll be like, you'll be like, fucking hell, we're really struggling. Sorry for swearing. We'll be like really struggling. Or whatever. You'll be like, we're really struggling, and Fulham will be flying. And the next year it'll be the other way around. So it was like quite an interesting, like one of us is always feeling sorry about ourselves in the conversation.
And we're obviously huge mutual Roy Hodgson appreciation Venn diagram as well, which is,
Is that how all three of you feel about Roy? Because I've got Palace fans who don't feel that way about Roy.
Well, I'm for starters, we share a birthday, so I feel like I always have to be nice about it. No, he did.
The same year, just to point out. I know it's a blurry image, but
no, I think he did a wonderful job with Palace. If you look at the entire body of work, he did a great job, and he really, if he didn't stay for that extra bit of a season before Glasner came in and signed off with the 8 wins in 10 at the end of the season before, I think people would only have amazing things to say about him. He's figured that he got the keys to Croydon in his first spell, and he's done some amazing stuff. And it was, he was a bit too pragmatic and didn't take risks, and probably could have taken risks at some points, like he did at the end of that season when he took the 8 wins out of 10. But he just overstayed his welcome slightly. But I think when you look at it overall, not bad things.
Oh, that's right, because he took over from Vieira and then he sort of saved the club, didn't he? Steadied it, and then he started badly next year. Is that what happened? Yeah, it did.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah. Interesting. Did he get any credit from what happened last year at Palace? Do people think about or talk about Roy at all? Did you even think of him once? Like when he was sort of like, do you know what I mean? Did he get any like reflective glory in that, Roy, or was he sort of a bit forgotten in that story?
Was he at the final? Have I got images of him at the final?
He was at the final.
Yeah, I think that where it sort of, it didn't go wholly sour, but I think he came out, he got a bit punchy towards the end, didn't he? And he was, he sort of, I wouldn't say turned on the fans, but there was a couple of digs like, these fans don't realise how good they've got it and all that sort of stuff. And from a pragmatic Roy Hodgson sort of point of view, I can kind of see it. But at the time, it was like, but we, at this point, we still had some of the best players that were ever worn a Palace shirt, and it did feel like we could have kicked on a little bit, knowing that whatever he did, he wasn't going to be long enough to sort of reap the rewards, good or bad. And and that kind of soured it a little bit. But as Terence says, the whole body of work, he's got the keys to Croydon. No, they don't dish those out willy-nilly. So,
brilliant.
So good.
But he's obviously well thought of at Fulham, right?
Oh my God, there wouldn't be more. Like, I think there probably isn't a higher thought of manager in the history of Fulham Football Club than Roy. I'll go by quite a distance. I think every single generation would say Roy, really, who saw him, because what Roy did at Fulham was absolutely insane. Like he came to England when thinking of retiring. I know that because when he came and did the Fulham podcast with us, he said he'd come back from Europe and he was going to retire, and it was some chance meeting where Sanchez had done really badly at Fulham. We were sort of bottom stranded, and he got talked into it as a curveball. And won't bore everyone with that, but in 2.5 seasons, he saved Fulham from like certain relegation, finished 7th, and then got to the final Europa League, when the Europa League was all those teams from the Champions League would come down from it, and like unbelievably hard task to do that. And a few years after that, Atletico Madrid, who beat us in the last minute of time, they were playing the Champions League final against Real Madrid, and we were Royless and in the bottom of the Championship pretty much. So that's how good a job he did. He was absolutely, but just like, same as the thing at Palace, like exactly the right guy at the right time, fitted the, like the feeling of a club, the etiquette, how we felt about ourselves, all that kind of thing. So yeah, love Roy.
Were you at that Juve game?
Yeah, I was at loads of that. I went away quite a lot. So I was even at the away, the one in Juventus where we got beat 3-1, and then the return, and then the ones in Hamburg. Yeah, the Juve game, I can still see. I know it sounds like overly melodramatic, but if I shut my eyes and think about it, I can still see Clint Dempsey's chip happening slowly in front of me. I can see the ball rotating. Like, it's one of those things where you know those moments where it feels like it takes forever while it's happening. It's like your life's frozen inside it. I can still really feel that.
Lovely.
Yeah.
And the way you're talking there is a flavour of your book as well, because I think it's very beautifully put together in terms of the emotions you evoke through, the way you feel about football and think about football. And by the time I finished it, I was like, God, I reckon me and this bloke could really get on.
Oh, mate.
I'd say so. Thank you straight up for being so vulnerable in the book as well, because I was expecting to read a football book, and it's a lot more than, I think Josh Widdicombe says it on the cover, right? This is a lot more than just a football book. So, thank you for that. And if at points I might be talking to you a bit over the top, in the sense of I feel like I know you a bit, which I think is, again, testament to what a great job you've done with the book.
Thank you.
And that starts with coming to our teams a bit later on than people normally do. I was very, very similar. So I had a family battle. So my dad's from Thornton Heath, but my mum's from Hackney, and I was brought up in Bethnal Green.
Right.
So my whole family on my mum's side were Arsenal and Spurs, right. And that was the constant battle, was Arsenal, Spurs, and never felt like they were my team. And then eventually in 1994, my dad took me to a Palace game. And then the first time he took me to Selhurst, I walked out into Selhurst Park, and I was just like, this is it. This is my home. Yeah. And reading your book, it was kind of funny, because I was like, would I have felt the same about Selhurst if it was a Wimbledon game? Don't know. I think it's probably the weight of the family on it. It being coming from my dad is probably what made it happen that way. But do you think he was ever close to being a Wimbledon fan?
Definitely. Like when so Curly, our mutual mate Billy, I'd gone a lot to Wimbledon when they were at Selhurst Park, and I love Bill. It's funny how you tie for people and personalities in with clubs and stuff in that book, but I spent most of my life as a young kid at Billy's family. And so it's sort of I loved his family, and they so Wimbledon somehow through his family sort of stood for decency, safety, second home or risk, these kind of things. So I really thought of Wimbledon a bit like that, but for whatever reason, I don't know whether it was just because it was Billy's team, and I felt like I wasn't going to lock into it with the same sort of purpose or meaning. It might have been that, but I just never met. He asked me a couple of times when we were really young, sort of 9, what, come on, just support Wimbledon with me. But there was just something a little, I don't know what, couldn't even explain to you why I didn't do that. And but the big thing for me really was that my uncle had taken me to Chelsea, and so I was, between 8 and 10 or whatever, that sort of age, I was a Chelsea fan. And that sort of shame really lived, it still lives in me. When I wrote the book, I was almost didn't write it, because I felt, there's a lot of things that Fulham fans will forgive, but Chelsea is the one thing that you don't do. And this idea that, but that's what became interesting to me really about what I was trying to say in the book when it went beyond going to rounds the FA Cup, that football is a very shorthand way of a lot of people telling themselves, this is who I am, this is where I belong, this is who I identify with. And I think underneath that, quite often there is different versions of shame or guilt or all these kind of strange things, or putting a badge on yourself where you're sort of fabricating a history because you want to blend in with you want that safety of belonging with an idea of what a club is, type thing. So it was, so anyway, it was interesting to me that at the last possible moment, knowing that it was the worst thing a man could do, at 10 years old, I went, I'm getting, as soon as I went to Fulham, I was like, there's something about this place that is speaking to me in a different way, like you've described, and decided to make. And Joe, you know, it was the best decision I ever made in my life, because I can't imagine my life genuinely would have been so different if I was a Chelsea fan. I don't think I would have had any sort of attachment to football really anymore, strangely. That all came from Fulham.
I don't think you could have written this book as a Chelsea fan, to be honest. The fact that you're a Fulham fan and we are such similar sized clubs and so on, and neither of us had won anything up to this point. You can't write this book as an Arsenal or Chelsea fan, because you just cannot grasp the gravitas of what we achieved last season if you support one of those clubs.
Well, that was just, you know, like that was, I mean, probably skipping forward a bit, but I'm so amazed and relieved that Palace won the tournament last year, because now when I reflect on it, the book would have just been nothing if City or Liverpool or someone like that had won it. The whole premise of the whole thing would have been like, the sort of like backdrop of it is searching for the magic or something. It's like written from a very emotional, sentimental place. And now when I think about it, it was quite a big risk to do that, and to think that, City would have won it for the fourth time in 5 years or whatever. It would have been really flat story. So to be ending at inside, sort of covert, almost like hiding inside the Palace end, inside that moment, was honestly just like being at the end of some sort of like never-ending story or some American film when you're a kid, like watching people, generations upon generations of people, like some sort of religious awakening, like it was like some sort of when I think about it, it's like a gospel moment in a church. You know, when there's a speaker that's making people so moved that they're like wailing. It was like that, but with a bunch of people that are so not used to, that have never done that before in their lives. It's like do you know what I mean? It's so unnatural to me. It was absolutely the most supernatural moment I've ever experienced. So it's even different to like going to see Oasis or something, because you have men crying there, but they've come there to do that. With that moment with Palace, it was like a total lack of being ready for it as well. Does that ring? I don't know if that rings true in your guys' experiences.
Absolutely. We in the build up to the final, we had Ben Bailey-Smith on, and he said, I know about losing. I know what's going to happen if we lose. I'm going to be gutted, but I know I'll get over it. But I ain't got a clue what I'm going to do if we win. None of us were prepared for that. And
Has it changed? Just quickly ask a question. Has it changed how you feel about Palace this year? Like, does it feel like, what are we going to do this year? It hasn't made any difference to like sort of.
No, I think it's. I mean, obviously the Europe, bolt on that comes with winning it. Or the summer was obviously sort of taken up with all the UEFA, Europa League, Conference League, Nottingham Forest stuff, and then I mean that was such a distraction that, regardless of what the outcome was, it kind of, by the time that was all resolved, not that I'd forgotten, but it was like, this is all because we've won the FA Cup. Like, you know what I mean? It's all of a sudden you're on that conveyor belt of, oh Christ, we're going to Europe now. But it's definitely sort of, I wouldn't say it's changed how I feel about the club. Obviously, you sort of go, and I think you'll get this as a Fulham fan of a similar club of a similar stature. I'm already going, well, it's never going to be like that again, is it? Do you know what I mean? You're already waiting for the inevitable disappointment. Well, that's the peak now, isn't it? All right, we'll have a year in Europe, and it's not the competition that we thought we were going to be in, but it might be a better competition to be in terms of sort of success. You do look back at that. You touch upon it on the book about when you do gigs and stuff, like you do look back at that and think, fuck, that might be. I describe it as the fourth best day of my life, but it's and I have to be very careful because it's my anniversary tomorrow. It's you know what I mean? If it was a league table, we'd be talking about goal difference. You know what I mean? Like it's definitely higher than fourth, but it's fourth on goal difference.
But the difference there than the other three best days of your life is that's a very personal thing that you're sharing with two or three people or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But the idea that you're sharing that moment, that feeling with tens and tens of thousands of people,
generations, like across generations, like
that is wild.
Yeah,
that is really wild.
It's the oddest. And again, I've watched FA Cup finals, but I can't say I'm taking notes of every crowd shot that they go to. It's so surreal to look back and think, and again, I can't speak on behalf of the 29,000 other people that were there in red and blue. Like, I'm going to say that for most people, it's going to be in their top 5 happiest days ever. But 99% of those people are just bawling their eyes out. Like, it's so weird to be at something that's so elating and such a collective, like, joyous thing. But everyone looks like someone's died because everyone's just streaming and the snotty noses and. Yeah,
it was so weird as well. Like, I don't know if it's because I'd watched it in the build-up to it for the book, but I don't know if it was a kit or something. But like, the kit's a throwback, but it felt like they almost looked like the 1990 team and a bit like that 2016. They like, I don't know whether it was something about like
that's Mateta with the shirt tucked in and the long sleeves.
Is it because it was tucked? Yeah, the shirt. I think it might be something as simple as that. Like, they actually looked like you could put a silhouette sort of thing over top of them, and you could see Ian Wright and Mark Wright and all these people. It was really wild. Do you know what I mean? They kind of felt. Do you see what I'm saying, or is that a really over?
No, not at all. I mean, you look at like Wright and Bright and the sort of pairs of players. Eze, he's almost Ian Wright incarnate in just the way the way he plays, the way he holds himself, his general sort of likability.
Totally.
Yeah, no, totally get it.
Especially the way he went to Arsenal afterwards.
Yeah, didn't kiss the match though, did he?
Not yet.
Yeah.
There's still time. But we've massively raced ahead.
Sorry, that was me.
No, not all. Like, let's drag it all the way back to Penrith.
Yeah.
Penrith against Pickering Town.
Yeah. So,
did you go there with the mindset that you wanted to write this book, or did it sort of come out of you when you were there?
No, well, what happened was that I've not written it this way eventually because it didn't quite make sense. But I was always, because I'd been writing since my band, the Macquaries, broke up. I've been very unexpectedly, sport has become a bit of my working life. And I was writing about cricket and this kind of thing and doing the Fulham podcast. So I really had in my head, I would love to do some sort of long form football writing because it's been such a part of my life, and I was really into the idea of writing something about football that almost told you or showed you nothing that happened on the pitch whatsoever. It was like a way of just articulating very as like honestly and as I could in as honest way as possible what it was like to go and watch football. So I always had but I hadn't really heard that before in like the ways it was beautiful and brutal. I'm sure it does exist, but I just hadn't read it. But anyway, regardless, I was like, we were playing 86 TVs. My other band had been playing since the Maccabees. We were playing Kendall Calling. And I was having a, as you do on tour when you're 40 and everything's hurting, and you feel like you can't do this every day anymore. You're in a splitter van, thinking, what am I doing with my life? And like sort of going back up the sort of like ladder, as it were, like of gigs, back in the tents and whatever, which was great, but, also humbling and all that stuff. So we're doing that and I was just feeling a bit grumpy. And in the service station, I realised that in midday that I realised, it's 12 o'clock Saturday. And the reason I realised that is because the service station was full of football teams, cadets, weddings, families, and it just like struck me like, because you sort of that's how you start to realize when you're on tour. That's the only way of knowing what time it is in the world is what's going on in a service station, really. So anyway, like it struck me like, we were not on until 7. I could go and watch if there was football happening in Kendall Corner. I could go and watch that, probably feel better about the world and get back in time. And so it just turned out that Penrith were playing, sorted it out with the guys in the band that I could leave. And I just went and watched this football match in front of like 200 people amongst the hills. And it only occurred to me when I was there, but this is the very first qualifying round of the FA Cup, extra preliminary. And when you're watching games like that, they become a sort of wildlife spotting exercise because there's so many eccentric characters. And when you've not got a big enough crowd to sort of blur it all out, you end up sort of like witnessing quite... you're sort of privy to quite detailed personal conversations because like people are sitting around you just having that chat type thing. So I was sort of like swept away in it. And then really enjoyed it, felt better about the world, and I've realised there's no fucking Ubers in Penrith. Like, there's no way to get anywhere. I couldn't get back to Kendal Calling, and it's one of those places where two guys have got mobile numbers. That's the cab service in Penrith. They're not going to take me. They're doing other things. And so I thought, I'm actually stranded in Penrith and can't get back to the stage until I knocked on the club office door, and this sort of proper football-y gentleman type guy, he said, "Oh, come on, I'll give you a lift then." And I didn't realise till I got in his car, but he was the chairman of Penrith. And he does this occasionally, ferries people that go to every ground or whatever. And then we're just starting this conversation. And while I'm in the car, I realise this is the book. And so I invent in my head, I'm writing a book about the FA Cup. Can I record our conversation? Really sort of quickly did, because I felt like I just needed a reason to capture the conversation that we had. He drops me off, get there for stage, and then I thought, that's the start of the adventure. And then that's what I thought, you can do. That's the really sort of the thing that we take for granted a lot. The profound thing about the FA Cup is you can literally trace. I know it sounds like the most obvious thing ever, but you can trace the lowest level of football to Wembley in whatever that was, 15 rounds. You can actually do the journey and tell the whole story and how football changes and how it's the same. And we do take that for granted, because I'm not sure that exists. I mean, in America, do you know what I mean? You wouldn't even conceive of anything like that at sport. So, so that's that.
I love those stories about Penrith and the owner going. Weirdly, it reminds me a little bit of Palace when we were in the Championship. You could go back after a game and chat to anyone in the car park, players, staff, whoever.
Really? Yeah.
That's gone away now since we're in the Premier League. You can't do that anymore. They'll be there signing and stuff like that, but it's all security and everything's cordoned off and whatever.
Would players be there? Yeah, you could speak to players.
Yeah, but you see in the promotion season, I remember going back and I had a 25-minute conversation with Mile Jedinak about how well we just played against Blackburn.
which would have been fine, but it was 10-3.
But I get a lot of non-league in because my cousin he's sort of a non-league club hopper, really, but he plays for Margate now.
Oh, no way.
And he was at Herne Bay last season. I went to AFC Croydon to watch him play. And that's owned by Wilfried Zaha and Stormzy now, AFC Croydon.
Wow.
And he got really badly injured in the game and he needed an ambulance. But there is only one narrow road that goes all the way down. There's a car park at the bottom. So basically, over the period of about half an hour, they had to call you out by number plate and you had to move your car so the ambulance could actually get down there to access him.
No way.
Yeah. So in that time, you're chatting to everyone around the club, because I was, a relation who was there. I was trying to sort out how he gets his van out and everything like that. But they're so heavily Palace related as well now, because the old kit man is actually running AFC Croydon for Stormzy and Wilf. A guy called Danny. So I was chatting to him, and then Paddy McCarthy, who used to play for Palace, who managed the Palace youth team, and was a load of the youth players are playing for Croydon. So it was this really, really surreal afternoon, which you just would never get at a Premier League football ground or a Football League ground.
No way.
Incredible
That's
stories.
Mad. Yeah, the thing that I just got a flashback to when you said that was I did write about it, but just the tiny little hilarious things that happen at that level, at Penrith Pickering, in both technical areas, both sides became obsessed, both dugouts, with who had possession of the spare ball. and while the game was going on, their attention was completely focused, and the assistant had it held behind his back, and then the other assistant was come running behind him, and at school when you try and jar the ball out of someone's hands, that kind of thing. He was getting it off, and then they were having a scuffle over the spare ball, and it went on for the entire second half. It's just pointless.
Just get another ball. Let's just get
just get another ball.
Surely.
But it just said something to how stupid football can be, that football mentality. But it just became important to both sets of staff to have that ball.
Brilliant. So then go off after Penrith Pickering. It's off to Haywards Heath Town against Deal Town.
Yeah.
I liked describing Haywards Heath as just a pass-through place. You sort of knew existed.
I felt bad about that because I feel like obviously there's lots of people that do live in Haywards Heath, but that became a bit of a like nice metaphor in general for the book, because the book sort of finds me as a 40-year-old man who feels like, oh, I've done all the things I want to do, I've been successful in life, but doesn't have children, feels a bit like, what have I missed something? Type thing. And so that kind of feeling sort of permeates a little bit through the book, and I think it does through quite a lot of especially at that level of football, you do have a lot of like sort of lost, a lot of soul searching, like a lot of, maybe not so much when it gets to Premier League level, but you do find quite a lot of people a bit like they've been able to pour their life into being in love with a thing rather than have very effective close relationships, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So I kind of really felt like Haywards Heath was like some nice metaphor for that. What actually ends up happening at Haywards Heath is that there's like some pretty nasty arguments start developing between kids and this dad shouting things at other people. And I just really was keen to write that in because there's going to be a lot of stuff about how beautiful football was, but I really wanted to also examine like why it's acceptable for people to shout certain things that you would not even dream of shouting at children outside of a football pitch. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it would have been really easy to leave that out and write a sort of fluffy book about football. But I kind of wanted to really keep those things in, even though they're a bit uncomfortable.
Yeah, that was... Oh, go on, Terence.
No, as I say, it's being Palace fans, and we've been on a massive journey with it, but having Brighton as rivals has gone from really loads of homophobic abuse down the years in songs to we've got to the stage now where it barely happens, and when it does happen, people shut it down from within. But, you know, like,
interesting.
Growing up, I've got 3 siblings and they're all queer. So for me to like be hearing that kind of stuff, I got into massive arguments at times at Brighton away, and it got to the stage where I just end up dreading going to the game, to be honest, because it would always be having to
away at Palace, away at Brighton, sorry,
Brighton, and just having to have screaming matches and near coming to blows with people, because I'm just like, you need to. It's fucking 2015 or whatever it is, you know. It's not like, you know, we know better now. Like, you just behave yourselves. So
it's
we've been
a brave
on a journey.
thing to do. A brave thing to do to call it out when you're at a game.
Or stupid, I don't know, one of the two. but it's true. But it just shows still with football now, you never know 100% what you're getting when you turn up. Like sometimes it will be nasty and so on. And I was having to explain that to my kids the other day when we were driving around before the game against Brighton. There's like police vans everywhere and police horses, and this is at like 10 o'clock in the morning. And the kids are like, what's going on? And I was like, well, sometimes at football, some people are naughty. So,
totally.
And trying to find the right words to explain it is tough.
I had a whole chapter which I ended up being in where I got anonymously all my friends from the arts that hate football. I got them to write why they didn't like football. Like in sort of paragraphs or sentences. And I really liked it. I thought it was really cool. But when I saw it back in the book, I was like, it just sort of, if you're reading it in love with football, this is just going to really take you out of the story. But what everyone was saying was so interesting. They were saying like how even the sound of football reminds them of being bullied, or like makes them feel like being outside of something and all that kind of thing. So even that in itself was really interesting, like how something that can feel so protective and like a sense of belonging in space and can be perceived as a really aggressive, alienating thing as well, just depending on who sees it, hears it.
Well, that's it's kind of funny that is in between the age of like 14 and 15 and a half, I actually played for Fulham.
What?
But very in and out, so I kept getting injured. So I'd been playing for Orient, and then I had a trial at Fulham, and that went quite well. And then I played a game for Fulham, and then got injured, and then was out for a while. And then they said, "Come back when you're fit." It wasn't like
No
it was
way.
then. We're talking late 90s. So 90s.
He's going back next week.
Still injured. And
late 90s. So what? In
Yeah.
the Ghana team and stuff? You were
just before then. So the reason why I went there from Orient is because Mohamed Al Fayed had just bought Fulham. So it was,
money.
they were in Division 2, but it was like, you can see it's going to,
No
where
way.
the trajectory is. So that's why I decided to go there. But the goalkeeper, I was a goalkeeper, the goalkeeper of the team was the most popular guy, and they hated having me there. Like, they were really, really horrible to me.
Really?
So in the end, they got to the stage where I was like, actually, I don't want to go back anymore. And
No
so
way.
I played about 6 games over about a year and a half, but every time I played, just defenders like stitching me up.
No way.
Like calling for the ball and then leaving it for me, and then players nipping in because they'd called for it and stuff like that.
Oh
Because
my
they didn't
These
want
are
to
not
do
excuses.
No
Even
way.
that's someone who loves football. It was like that was the time where it was probably like it's hard work, but let alone being ginger in the 90s as well was tough enough work as it was. But
Yeah. Well, it makes football a tough space sometimes because football is so sure of itself. It's so, often it's a trope that gets used, like the language of the world or whatever it is. But the byproduct of that is that it doesn't need to let you in. It doesn't need you. Whereas like things like cricket or whatever, a little bit like, oh, you like cricket?
Yeah.
What can you do to help?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like football does not need you. So sometimes this conversation's going a different way now than I expected.
No.
But you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
No, absolutely. Yeah. No.
Probably the podcast in after that.
How do more than 100 million Fortnite players join the battle without lag? AWS is how Epic Games scales up to keep them in the action. AWS powers next-level innovation for millions of businesses.
Avoiding your unfinished home projects because you're not sure where to start? Thumbtack knows home so you don't have to. Don't know the difference between matte paint finish and satin? Or what that clunking sound from your dryer is? With Thumbtack, you don't have to be a home pro. You just have to hire one. You can hire top-rated pros, see price estimates, and read reviews all on the app. Download today.
But yeah, you talked about that with around Mark, who I think I know Mark.
Oh, really?
So I'm pretty sure I know him. Did he used to write for South London Press or something like that?
Yeah,
or one of those papers. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
He had a go at doing that when he was young.
Yeah, I think our paths crossed, yeah. And I
Mark,
haven't seen him for a while.
Mark, I write about him quite a lot in the book, but he, at his wedding, the first person he raised a toast to, who was not there, was Steve Coppell.
Yeah, unsurprising.
And he did it quite emotionally. So that's where Mark is. Yeah, and that TDK work, it's Kitty, when he used to wear that around halls at Sussex University, playing Football Manager.
The top table at my wedding was the Coppell table because my wife's family were United fans, so Coppell was the only thing we could agree on.
Love it.
We had 11 tables named after United players, 11 tables named after Palace players.
Love it.
And top table was Coppell.
That's
didn't raise it. Stop short of raising a toast to him.
Who did you sit at the Neil Ruddock table?
Everyone. It was fucking massive.
It's like a banquet.
Yeah.
At my wedding, I'm married to a German lady whose actual first Crystal Palace game was Palace Fulham, the 4-1 at Selhurst.
Kasami, the Kasami game.
The Kasami goal, yeah. Kasami and Sidwell, he scored a banger in that game as well.
And do you know what? You were that game. You were definitely relegated at that point, and we were like mid-flying. We ended up getting relegated that season. Yeah. And you ended up doing fine.
Us. They sacked Holloway before.
Is that what happened?
He left after that game, and you kept Martin Yole for a few games too long on the back of that result. Yeah, that's exactly.
I was Holloway in charge of Palace at that time. Oh my God!
Yeah.
Can I just ask you a question? Just to know why, it's a random thing that pops in my head. What are your guys' opinions of David Tuttle? Because when I was growing up, I used to go watch Palace as well at Selhurst. And there's we used to sit it Arthur Waite? Probably was Arthur Waite. And there was always a guy behind who would be like, Tuttle, you're shit. Tuttle. Like, don't give him Tuttle. Like, he was obsessed with David Tuttle not being able to use the football. What's your memory, or do you have any memory of David Tuttle?
I don't know if this was like his actual nickname of Subtle Tuttle, because all he did was just punt the ball, or if that's something that's just sort of appeared.
If it wasn't, it should have been.
Yeah. Well, because he just used to release it, he used to smash it type thing. Yeah.
Was it David Tuttle that in the Wolves, the playoff game against Wolves? Is it David Tuttle that when the goal goes in, I don't know which Wolves player it is, he goes up to the Wolves player and he's like up in his face like.
No, see, I love that goal. So we score. So basically, we're playing Wolves in the semi-final. It's 1-0 after an hour. Shipley scores, and then Friedman scores in the 90th minute. Wolves go straight up at the other end and score an away goal at that point, which counted for Jamie Smith. Yeah. And then we go straight back up the other end and score to make it 3-1. And Jamie Smith is stood on the goal line. And it's Gareth Davies. He was a Welsh who actually scored the first Palace goal I saw at Selhurst. And he just starts screaming at Jamie Smith on the line, like, ah. Wow. And the following season, we signed Jamie Smith. It's such a great goal, steeped in loads of history. And then, Jeff Thomas was actually playing for Wolves that day as well.
Oh, wow, was he?
So, Not Fulham.
Not Fulham. Should have been.
I've got to say, that's one thing that I really like in the book, and you've just done it there. Your book touches on turning 40, which I've done recently as well, and like your brain can just pull out random 90. You've just pulled out David Tuttle. I barely remember David Tuttle, but the capacity to just name 90s footballers that aren't even part of your team is such a preserved, crystallised thing in all of our brains. But like you say, I think you mentioned the book. Ask me what I did this morning. It's like no idea, but I can
totally.
Tell you,
But that ends up becoming quite moving, I think, because it makes you sort of, it like focuses you on the fact how quick time is moving, and like how when you're young every day feels like, or one football season feels like it's so long. You can remember all the details of like you're holding on to everything, can't you? And so it like really preserves itself in your head. So it kind of has. The way that football plays with your memory started to get really interesting to me, or like being a child, or it keeps you 8 or 10 or whatever it is in certain ways. So like that in itself, like there's something very profound about that, but people probably aren't registering on a conscious level because they're not as pretentious as me. But when you're moving through time a little bit, it does shock you occasionally, because in my head David Tuttle is still playing centre back for Palace a little bit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's still shocking to me that he isn't.
Like a weird Selhurst Park version of Field of Dreams.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
He's one of our ghost players that turn up.
Next to
I've just seen David Hopkins as well. David Hopkins with ginger hair.
Yeah, David Hopkins. Yeah, he's scored one of the most famous Palace goals in this kit in the playoff final that followed that game against Wolves. Yeah, last kick of the game.
Great.
There you go. I can kind of tie David Tuttle into this chat in your book, actually, because I've just, as we've been talking, we just want to see what he's up to. It turns out he's not still playing. But in the 24-25 season, he was managing Aylesbury United.
Oh.
Wow.
Who are, according to Wikipedia, members of the Southern League Division 1 Central, and don't even have their own ground. They play at Chesham United. So you could easily have picked one of their games, to be fair, and turned up and seen David Tuttle.
And the fact that you said he was last season suggests he isn't now. Is that right?
Yeah, their manager currently is some guy called Paul Batchelor. So not David Tuttle, so I don't care about him.
but that's the thing. Like if you're into football at a certain age, or you don't need to be really, really good friends with someone, you could just sit there and just name footballers from that era, and that's what you wouldn't need. That's all you'd need. You wouldn't have to know anything about their lives.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like I think Limvoy Primus is the one I use in the book.
Yeah.
But you just say names.
Yeah.
Sorry, but anyway.
I'm just resisting the urge just to start doing it now because it won't be a good podcast. But...
It might be quite good.
I mean, you're not a man that needs another project, but there is a podcast there somewhere, I'm sure.
Totally, just naming footballers.
Whatever you do, just don't do Neil Shipley. I suppose he's already been mentioned, but just
you need to put 50p in the Shipley swear jar.
Well, do you know what Shipley's is actually in the book because he because there's a guy because that was a really big story, the AFC MK Dons, and I met probably the only must be one of 10 guys who stayed to support Wimbledon, didn't do the protest, and then went to Milton Keynes and still supports Milton Keynes. And he was talking about how that there was a little subsection, but no one has discussed. But when they were protesting at Selhurst Park, Wimbledon were quite good for that year and nearly got in the playoffs. And Shipley was playing up front for Wimbledon. And it was almost like they had this little secret where just there was 1,000 of them at home and away who decided to stay with the team. And this mad stuff develops in that situation where they're almost like, in my head, it's like Handmaid's Tale or something. They're like not allowed to be there, but they're like a secret like commune. And he gets given when he's a teenager because they become so close knit. This stranger's got his newborn baby to all the games, and he goes to the toilet and he hands him the kid to look after the kid at half time when he goes to his toilet. So there's this like he's 18 years old looking after a child. Anyway, and this guy, they both defected or whatever they use it to go to Milton Keynes, and they see each other from afar at Milton Keynes, but they don't acknowledge each other's presence. And the boy is like 20 odd, and he's still going to Milton Keynes. But because like talking about the sort of shame thing, because they don't want to tell everyone that they were at Wimbledon, because there'd be some sort of guilt in that, it goes unsaid.
Yeah.
At Milton Keynes, like mad stories of like vlogging and displacement and stuff.
Yeah, you sort of forget that there's a flip side to that, and that they're probably just as unpopular if they reveal that they're OG Wimbledon fans.
Yeah,
but that's just that's another great sort of chapter, another great twist in the FA Cup tale, is it, that those two pull each other, and it's great that you get to explore that because it is a story that's. I think Terence is going to, was mentioned. It's like such a one-sided tale that you find that there are these other people, and there is another club involved in it.
Yeah, and the interesting thing to me about it was like, the sort of that idea of being on a when you're on a train with loads of away fans, and then it's that thing of like loads of kids being like Milton Keynes is scum. And the shock of being with Wimbledon fans behaving like that because they'd been like that thing that had stood for like family and like, and the story is this lot of fairy tale, but it's actually just like any other football club, and there's people that behave like they do at any other football club there, and so that kind of I was like, I'm finding it even hard to talk about, but like when I'm sort of trying to put it in a book, I'm trying to put it as accurately as it actually happens. So there's no like sprinkling of like fairy tale stories. It's like trying to give you an actual feeling of what it's like to be, or what it feels like to me to be in those situations. Do you see what I'm saying?
I love the concept that you went with, the passed down hatred. It's like, how can these kids even know? Because it's like 17, 18, 19-year-olds. And you do get that. You get, again, with Palace, you get that a lot with Brighton. It's passed down and it's from the 70s is where like sort of bubbling in the 60s and then starting off in the 70s of where we really started to hate each other, and then we didn't play each other for years.
What was it? Was it a game or was it what happened?
We kept getting back. The Cliff Notes is we get promoted and relegated with each other quite a lot, and we're in the same division for years. And then we start being those sort of fixtures where you'd play Boxing Day and Christmas Day, and then there'd be a lot of really close together fixtures. We kept drawing each other in the cups. And so off the field, everyone knows everyone. So all the geezers know the geezers, from each side. And then you end up with Terry Venables becoming our manager, Alan Mullery becoming their manager.
Yeah.
As it goes, they didn't like each other when they played at Spurs with each other. So they started getting nasty with each other off the pitch, and then it all boiled over in a FA Cup third replay or whatever it was over a penalty. And then, I think Alan Mullery gets Bovril thrown over him. How British can you get?
I've heard that, yeah.
Yeah, he pulls money out his pocket, throws it on the floor. Palace ain't worth that. And then, the rest is history.
No way.
But the first time I saw Palace play Brighton was in, what would that have been? What was the 5-0?
2001.
2001. I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Brighton nowhere near my radar. Going to Palace in the 90s.
Yeah, they couldn't have been a thing.
It was a sort of a malevolent sort of, we don't like Brighton. All right, fair enough. Yeah. And obviously and with Koppel, they come back with Koppel as the manager.
Yeah.
And the rest is history. And so it's sort of, you say it's passed on. I've barely got the energy to support Palace, let alone put energy into hating anybody else. But obviously you have to just go along with it. And I mean, after being in the Premier League for so long, we obviously played them this weekend, and you wouldn't have said it was a particularly spicy game on or off the pitch, would you really? And it's sort of that Premier League malaise sort of comes in.
Yeah, exactly, malaise. What do Palace feel about Wimbledon? Is there a feeling? Was there ever a thing there from Palace? Not really.
No.
I
just found it a novelty because I got to sit on the White Horse for the first time when we played them away instead of being in the Homesdale. That was basically
yeah.
Because they kept the Homesdale for those games, didn't they? So
great. Okay, interesting.
Every now and then, I mean, I would say I never had any ill feeling towards them, but obviously being mates with Chapter 7 Billy, I'll take every 6 months, maybe 9 months. I'll send him a clip of Aki Riolati scoring an absolute fucking banger as the away team at Selhurst against Wimbledon.
Brilliant.
You just got to say I don't have to say Riolati. If I just say Aki, he bristles. That's a real 90s white, or certainly early 2000s niche wind up that you can only do to someone who supports a certain team and you support the corresponding one.
Totally.
Yeah. But then talking of this passed on hatred, I think it was right. You handled it very delicately in the book, talking about taking a ticket for the final, which obviously a Palace fan would have missed out on, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Your one, because you're writing a book, got no problem with, but bringing your mate Nick, who's a Bristol City fan.
Matt,
this is passed on hatred because my best man for my wedding, best mate, and all his family are Bristol Rovers. So I've had this hatred of City passed down to me, or shitheads as they call them. Shitheads.
No way.
Yeah.
But shit, is that they call them shitheads?
They call them the shit, yeah. So I think because Rovers are called gas, and it came about around that because they're right by the gasworks. So I think Bristol City called them the gas as an insult, and then they kind of adopted it as actually that's not an insult. Yeah, we are. This is where we're from, whatever. And then in return, they started calling them shitheads. I don't know. It's kind of lame, really. But
so Bristol, isn't it?
It's so Bristol, yeah. But
Bristol. He came obviously. Well, who wouldn't come? But that tapped into that idea that because he supports Bristol City, he will never have another opportunity to go to a cup final. Realistically. Yeah. In his whole life.
Yeah. Well, what was amazing is that as a Bristol City fan, he actually saw Palace win because we never fucking beat them. Horrible record against Bristol City.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, really bad. Yeah. Do you remember the Freddie Sears ghost goal when he scored in the middle of the goal and it bounced out? Yeah, that was Palace against Bristol City. He scored in the middle of the goal and it bounced out the back of the goal off the bar holding down the net.
Oh my God, Freddie Sears.
And was it opening game of the season?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. It was it was around there. It was very early. Yeah.
Such a great fucking typical Palace start to a season. We've scored a goal and no one's fucking seen it.
And also,
Frey hasn't fucking seen it.
In typical Palace style, we then go on to lose 1-0. And it's just a shit, dirgy game.
Injury time winner by Nicky Maynard.
Fucking Nicky Maynard.
So I couldn't tell you he scored for Palace or against Palace this season, but I know that Nicky Maynard scored a 90th minute winner.
There you go.
So we'll speed through a bit because this has been going on for ages. Dulwich Hamlet, I love that you went there. Obviously, loads of Palace fans. We played them in pre-season quite a lot. But recently I went to a game there and they was playing Lewis a couple of years ago, and I stumbled across a blog post about that game. And this Lewis fan said, "Here it feels like the football is merely a sideshow, something getting in the way of a couple of thousand people having a bloody good chat."
Yeah.
Good line.
Yeah, and Joe, you know what, I wrote a little back that into it, but I was trying not to be too narky about scenesters, because there is something actually very cool about people rejecting going to whatever is Premier League football and going to see Hamlet instead.
Yeah,
even if it is a bit Peckham Hells or whatever. You know what I mean?
That's great.
That kind of thing.
That's great. I go there with mates to socialise, so it'll be like you know, the game is literally an afterthought, which is going on over there, and it is what it is, and they've got a lovely setup there, and it works for them.
No, that's great. I mean, the cool thing about that was that, like, because where my girlfriend lives is in Camberwell, where I'm at now, but like I just always, honestly, like a sort of ghost thing, I'd always hear this roar and genuinely think that might be coming from Selhurst Park, because I couldn't conceive of it coming from anywhere. It didn't even occur to me that it would be Hamlet, and it was not until I got there that you realise, like, hiding behind the Sainsbury's, not unlike Palace, there's
better parking, I imagine.
There's like this actual like football crowd situation happening. So that cool thing that you know, like a whole community just hiding behind that was just very cool. I loved it there.
So MK Dons Wimbledon, as we've covered in the first round, Crawley Lincoln in the second, City Salford in the third, and then Everton Bournemouth in the fourth, which was your one and only visit to Goodison then, which is, I mean, it was an amazing ground for, steeped in history and all of that. And, you know, then they don't make them like that anymore kind of thing. Did you enjoy your time there?
Yeah, I mean, I love Goodison. You guys must have gone Goodison, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I love a lot of things about Goodison. I love that every Everton fan will tell you as a source of pride that there are places at Goodison Park where you can't see anything at all, as if that's a good thing. And it's like some sort of like badge of honour if you sat there for periods of time where you couldn't see anything happen. Like Sharky's producer of Tailenders, he becomes part of that story, because it's just a way of saying how certain, I think this is probably true, how people take on the personality of their football teams. And Sharky is quite a downtrodden, downbeat, glib, but very sweet man. Humility. And I genuinely don't think he would be like he is if he supported Liverpool.
Yeah, it says terrible for a non-visual podcast, but this is my view at Goodison Park one year, where I've got not one but two bollards in front of me somehow.
Is that the away end?
Yes, the away end, yeah.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
The worst thing about Goodison was that it was great because they'd do this deal where you could get like a pint and a pie for like £5 or something. But God knows what was in the pies, because about half an hour into the game, the away end stunk because of whatever.
Everyone was like
coming out the other end.
Oh my God!
It was the same every year now that they did that deal. It was rank. Disgusting.
That's hilarious.
But then obviously now we get into the fifth round and your beloved Fulham come into play, and I love that you talked about the game from a couple of years before, because I that's one of the few FA Cup games of recent years that I do remember very, very well. It was just that the double red card thing was just crazy.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
sorry, go on.
No, I mean, if that had happened to Palace, you would have said that's the most Palace thing ever, wouldn't you? It's a thing that the kind of situation that happens to club like ours. Like, for people that don't know what you're referencing there, Fulham were beating United 1-0, 15 minutes left, something like that, dominating the game. And within the space of seconds, there's an attack that Willian does hit Willian's hand on the line. He gets sent off. Then Marco Silva protests it too much. He gets sent off from thing. Mitrovic gets unhappy with that and then pushes the referee. He gets sent off. They score, and then they score the penalty, and then literally from the restart score again. So in about a minute and a half, we've gone from absolutely dominating what is probably one of the biggest games of football for us in decades to we're losing 2-1 and we've got 8 men. It's 9 men and no manager on touchline.
Yeah,
which is just remote, like catastrophic minute, and then we end up losing that game 3-1. So that sort of speaks to what, but I use that as an example really of like how football will tell you in a safe place that something's going to happen in life that you are not going to believe, but you're also not going to be able to control, and you're just going to have to sit there and watch it. And no matter how much control of feeling you try and build into your life, you're going to have to deal with that. And if that's the problem with like supporting clubs like ours, is you do have a sort of numbness to feeling because you're so used to the disappointment. You're trying to guard against it, in every single way. And when that door opens, every time that door opens, and it kind of got me thinking a bit like in deeper situations, especially with men, where like I won't walk into that relationship or do that thing, and you will tell yourself it's because I don't want to do it, but actually 9 times out of 10, the human condition response is that you're doing that because somewhere deep down you know how bad it's going to hurt when it ends. So my feeling of like with Fulham would be like, I don't want us to win anyway. Becomes representative of some sort of like stunted male do you know what I mean? But emotion that needs to be like mind downer a little bit. But anyway, but then we get the redemption story, which is really nice because Fulham are playing in this. We got United and beat them at Old Trafford on penalties. So that was a nice little arc in this story. Yeah,
and this is where it starts to. We're kind of similar in the sense that we got to the stage at this point where we both were thinking this has got to be our year on different sides of London, because when that went to penalties, I turned it on to watch the penalties because I was like,
I'm going to find what Curdy was texting me at this moment. So
if Man United go out here, they're the only thing that's standing between us and winning the FA Cup, because our two previous finals we've lost against them. So for them going out, and we'd already lost loads of big teams through it. Liverpool had already gone to Plymouth and all of that. It was like, this is the year. And with you guys being 50 years since your last cup final, you personally are doing this journey. You must have your brain must have been going crazy at this point, running away with achieving it.
Yeah, I mean, so Curly, you texted me the night before the game. One of us is going to Wembley, full stop, and I can't handle it, full stop. That's what he messaged me. But I think that's the thing so Fulham haven't been to a semi-final since I'd lived my entire life again. We played Chelsea in a semi-final at Villa Park when I was like about 19, and I came to realise that I'd lived my entire life again by the time that opportunity had arisen, and that's how rare it is. So then it starts to scare you, like, okay, so if the numbers are the same again, I'm going to be 65 when Fulham might be in the semi-final. I mean, that's terrifying. Like the reality that you might not. I mean, that's why it's so special. What you guys have seen last year is just these things that there is plausible reality, but you never see your team do these things. Generations of people never see these things happen. But like the Palace quarter final. But what I really wanted to write in is because my nephew Jet has really got into Fulham recently, and I've sort of got him into it. Having been obsessed with the way that Fulham wasn't handed to me, I was like desperate to give Jet Fulham, because Fulham was like, because I'd had it a bit deeper in my life, where my mum was from Palestine and my dad was from the Isle of Wight and had a sort of strange upbringing. So they never had this sense of like where they were from, like belonging. And I was really trying to plant it with Fulham. So when Jet starts coming to Fulham with me, and then last year it just explodes in his brain, and you suddenly learn like how football for an 8-year-old, it teaches it without it being a chore. You're suddenly seeing the capacity of the human mind like explode. It's like you're learning to read and write, communicate with an adult world. You're learning about who you are, morality, justice, geography, foreign pronunciation, like the whole world coming together in a way that was like you couldn't have conceived of a year before for a child. And it so often happens through football. Like football just has some sort of way of sparking that imagination. So anyway, I'm having this moment with Jet, and he's buoyed up by Palace, and we've got tickets and da. And obviously what happened. Palace are just lethal, and Eze scores that amazing goal. Anyway, it's 3-0. Like you're ridiculously good on that day, and because we got enough time to sort of realise what's going on. With 10 minutes left, the game's dead, and I'm just sat there with Jet, and he's just staring into the void, and he's just telling me that it's the worst day of his life, and I'm like watching him experience heartbreak for actual heartbreak for the first time, and all those things I've discussed, and it was genuinely very emotional watching him make this decision. Like, I've just had my heart broken, but this is where I'm staying. You know what I mean?
And
like,
you can't even buy him a pint. That's the bit. You can't even.
Come on, mate. Can't even get him put in a £5 pie.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, hopefully that will happen one day. But anyway, that was just like really important part of the story in terms of that communication between adult and child, I guess, really. And that you have that so much at Palace, don't you? I mean, that's what the final was, like kids with grandparents with, I mean, just unreal. And then that feeling of, oh man, I don't know. I feel like I'll just quickly tell this if you guys don't mind. I feel like
go for it.
When I first chose to go to Fulham, I genuinely, like I was saying at the start, I really do think when I look back on it now, because my mum had multiple sclerosis at that time and she died when I was a teenager, I genuinely think that the pull that Fulham had over someone like Chelsea for me was that it told me this is a place that can deal with your loss, disappointment, hurt. Something about being there, the people there, something about the space told me, like, we can hold your hurt for you, even in a subconscious way. And I think that's why I walked towards it. And what would happen with Fulham when I was a teenager is, like, I had to unpack this like a long time later, but I would quite often go to Fulham actually hoping that we're going to lose. Like, I'd have this little feeling in my head, like, I want us to concede in the last minute. And when I thought about that a long time after, I was thinking, well, I was going through something quite serious in my real life. And what I wanted was the feeling inside me to align with the place. So when Fulham did lose, I'd have this feeling of like consolation, and there'd be like 5 minutes of the world mirroring how I felt. And it was when I think about it now, it's almost like a addictive thing. Like I was searching out that feeling that sort of soothed it type thing.
Yeah, and I guess if that does happen and Fulham did lose or whatever, you've got thousands of people around you where your that feeling is aligned with that immediate community around you, which exactly.
And it was also how Fulham, almost a bit like Palace, identified itself, or very much like Palace, identified itself as that was part of what the DNA of the club was. Like, what we're going to do with Fulham or Crystal Palace, that's just how it goes type situation. So there was something about that now when I reflect on it makes me feel really moved about Fulham. I'm sure loads of people have the same feeling with Palace, in that I think the club showed me how to it carried me through what would have been was a horrible time of life, but it sort of did something where it ushered me through that period of time. And I think if I'd chosen a club or had a connection with a club that didn't have a bigger team, I wouldn't have had any of that communication with the place, or sort of like emotional affinity with something that really like bonds you in a strong way to it. And I think when you've made that choice with those sorts of clubs, like just to like pull it to the Palace in the final thing, that's what you're feeling. Like, people who have had better options, they could have chosen to be happy more often. Anyone in London could do. You could choose to be happy more often if you wanted than support Crystal Palace or Fulham, but they've made a decision through some sort of emotional affinity. This is where I belong and this is where I'm staying. And it's making me shiver now. Like when that gets repaid, like on a day like that, it did for Palace fans, it's like it's a spiritual thing. It's a genuinely religious. You couldn't get a more it feels like you're in a cathedral, like something's happening, and that's really what it felt like. And being there in that at Wembley that day, that's what it felt like. You were watching like something happened for the first time in hundreds of years. It was like a truly religious experience. And so from my position to have the like, it became a privilege to like not be, even though I was so jealous. Like when I realized I could detach from it, it wasn't unbearable and just see it.
Yeah.
It was truly wild. And I think that's why Fulham and Palace fans and those sorts of clubs have an understanding a little about those moments a little bit, you know?
Yeah, it was an incredible day. And we're 6 months now, basically, next week. And I thought I was over crying, but listening to the final chapter at Farringdon Station this morning on the way to work, there I was crying at 7 a.m. on the train, listening to you talk about it. Yeah, it was, and because it was just so emotional, you know. When Doku pulls his shot wide in the 99th minute, and it was just like uncontrollable. I was not crying, and then I was crying, and there was no like conscious decision to cry or anything like that. It just overwhelmed me completely, and just that, you know, even we at that time, even like through my tears, I'm thinking, even we can't fuck it up from here. Like he's going to boot the ball, and the ref's going to blow the full-time whistle. Like this is didn't know how to handle it. I mean, Albert fell apart at the end of the game.
Really?
I was in an absolute state. I hadn't even drunk that much, and it just came out of it, and I just went home. Just went into a trance. Just went home.
Really?
Felt like I was on some mad adrenaline, emotional come down.
You didn't go and party or anything? You just sort of like
came home to an empty house because Joe and the kids are out. And probably too much information, but I've said it before. I got home, was really, really hot. Took my trousers off, and literally passed out on the sofa for 2 hours.
Oh my god! Yeah, you just.
I've never. I imagine it's like maybe if you do a marathon. I'm never doing a fucking marathon. You know what I mean? Like just something was just taken out of me, and I just needed to just lie down and fucking close my eyes. It was it's unreal.
Wow.
I think it's like you said though about when you look back on it, even though it's only been 6 months, and you're unpacking what happened later. So we sort of said it, we recorded the day after the final. And I was talking about it there, and we all got really emotional. But it's the sort of thing where you don't really know what you're doing at the full-time whistle. We all we weren't sat together or stood together. But like I fell down, and all my mates, my wife was picking me up, and, you know, we were all hugging each other and whatever. And you think about, you're not in control, but when you think about it, even a day later, it was like, I did this because my granddad wasn't able to do it because he died, and, you know, your family wasn't there. And I said at the time, we weren't together, but it was the shared moment. You know, we're all experiencing it. And, you know, talking about it now, it brings back a lot of great memories. But it's interesting for you to say, not as a Palace fan, that when you were there, to be able to experience it sort of, not, it sounds like not as a neutral, but more like, you know, from the outside at least.
Palace adjacent.
Palace adjacent.
No, I've never experienced anything like that. I've never, in any sporting situation or a gig or anything, never have ever seen the strength of feeling of that.
Yeah, and I think it captured the nation, really. I think everyone saw those videos. Whoever's into football saw those videos, and could truly relate to what it meant. And it was just magical.
And also just like very, like really humble, like kind manager, and like players that are like so sort of young and confident, but not at all in an arrogant way. Like really sort of just really, really likable personalities that were just like seizing life while it was there for them. Like everything about all of it was just beautiful. Yeah,
I got a quote tattooed here from Oliver Glasner in the post-match where he was like, the best thing we could do is not lifting the trophy. The best thing we could do is give minutes or hours for the fans away from their lives, which could be really difficult. They could have anything going on. So to take them away and have them forget about that for small moments, minutes or hours, is the best thing we can do as sports people. And the fact that we could do that for tens of thousands of South Londoners And the thing I've got written on there is that we could give them a moment for their life. And that's exactly what they did. And every time I think about that, I get like choked up thinking about it. But,
I know.
And it's in the book.
It's in the book.
Yeah, got it in the book. And Joe, what? It would have been such a shit ending if City won that final, wouldn't it?
Well, I was saying before recording, it would have been a shit book if you supported one of those teams. Yeah. Because no one who supports one of those teams could have wrote the book the way you did about us winning it. It just would never have been able to resonate in the way it has.
True, actually, would it? Yeah, you're right, actually. I haven't even thought about that, but that's probably true.
Yeah. Yeah, so thank you for writing it, and thank you for coming on to talk about it.
Oh, I'm so glad, guys. I'm so happy to speak to you guys. And fucking hell, man. I wish we could have more time talking about David Tuttle, but...
Waiting tomorrow. Yeah.
But then I did get an email this morning, though, from The Athletic saying Fulham are in trouble. Their top scorer is own goals this season. So how are you feeling about this season?
Yeah, we probably... I think... The result at Everton, that's the first time everyone's gone, you know, because we had difficult games start of the season, and we didn't, even though we were in all the games, and we, you know, didn't pick up points against Arsenal and people like that. So it wasn't like 2 alarm bells. But going to Everton, and it could, I wasn't there, I listened to the radio, but it sounds like it could have been 5. Everyone told me we didn't compete at all. And the thing you worry about is is the quicksand of it now, because now we've got Sunderland, City, Spurs, someone else really decent as well. Well, everyone's good apart from Wolves really at the moment, aren't they? But someone else that you wouldn't expect us to pick points up against. And then so if we go pointless or want to get 1 or 2 points out of that for a month, you know, we could be second bottom at Christmas. And then it doesn't matter how good you are. You're finding out about personalities in that team, aren't you? You know, and better Fulham teams have been relegated, so I think we're all a little bit nervous at the moment. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, especially with the way the 3 teams who have come up aren't fodder like they have been in recent years. So, you know, I just wish this season was last season with Spurs and United, because you could have ended up with one of them going.
Oh my God, that would have been so good.
Yeah. Although you do what they would have probably just found the extra gear, wouldn't they? I imagine if they were truly troubled, but who knows?
Yeah, who knows? We'll see. It's going to be an interesting year anyway, isn't it? For everyone.
Well, yeah. But anyway, look, thanks for coming on. Good luck for the rest of the season. Don't want you to go down. I love Fulham as an away day, although it is about $8.60 a pint wherever you drink around there. It's getting out of hand.
Oh, well, outside, yeah. It's not getting to that. Yeah.
Indeed. But yeah, so all the links to the book will be over all our socials and everything like that. So go and buy the book. Audible, I listen to it on Audible. It's really weird hearing you not in 1.2 speed. Because I needed to get it in before we recorded. I was like, I need to speed it up a little bit. Yeah, you speak so slow. This is weird. But yeah, so Audible, everywhere you can get a book, it will be there available for you to buy it. Thoroughly recommend it as a part of your mementos that you should have surrounding the achievement that we had last season.
And I think it'll jump off the shelf to any Palace fan, because the scarf on the front is red and blue. I don't know if that's intentional, but it's the first thing.
It's very intentional. Of course it is. It had to be Palace scarf there. I'm actually wearing a red and black top, which is a nod to Fulham's 1975 Cup final kit as well. So there you go.
Very nice. And good luck with the Maccabee stuff reunion. How's that going?
Yeah, man, great. Yeah, we're doing talking about more stuff tentatively. So life's exciting. There's definitely some things to be done. So
no word of a lie. I drove past a truck today that had Maccabee's roofing contractors on the side. I know you're busy, but that ain't you, is it?
Yeah, but there's no money in Spotify at the moment, so that's it. That's a good drama, isn't it? A band that can't make any money out of Spotify, so they're roofing contractors.
Brilliant. Right. Thanks again. Thanks for listening, everyone.
How does F1 turn data into insights at 200 miles per hour? AWS is how fans get inside the strategy. AWS powers next-level innovation for millions of businesses.
For 25 years, Brightview Senior Living Associates have been committed to creating a vibrant culture and delivering exceptional services, making Brightview a great place to work and live. If you're looking for a rewarding opportunity to serve your local community and grow, we want you to join our team. Brightview Senior Living is growing and actively seeking vibrant associates to join our community teams, including directors, healthcare, activities, hospitality, and dining. Apply today at careers.brightviewseniorliving.com. Equal employment opportunities. Text BV Jobs to 97211 to apply.